Good morning, everyone. It's Tyne from Muse Life, and welcome to this morning activation reading, you guys. It is our new moon in Virgo activation reading, you guys, and we're getting a double whammy of the Virgo sign with it being Virgo season, the month of Virgo, as well as it being the new moon in Virgo. So there's going to be some interesting Virgo energy, earthly energy there. Virgos tend to be really detailed and analysis orientated. They tend to really look at people in situations and just things going on in their outside world in a very like formal, almost mythological way. So you just kind of have to get used to that. There's a lot of critical elements to it sometimes. And also the way we just kind of view things with people during this time can be a little bit tainted. So let's try to harness in more on some of the positive aspects of Virgo and Virgo season and some of this Virgo energy, which is really like getting the work done. You guys are definitely like in work mode right now. A lot of us are really in our field. We just went through Lionsgate. We figured out what it is we're here to do, and we're hopefully on the track to getting things done right now. So some interesting times. I want you guys all to just let's set the mood right now. I want you to all imagine that you're all part of this beautiful, vast, energetic grid that encompasses the whole of the universe, and that you're all beautiful, amazing, tiny lights on that grid, and that we're all connected in this amazing web. All our energy, all our thoughts, our emotions, we're all connected to that. And I want you to connect with the cards, and I want you to just focus on what Source is wanting to let us know. What is it that we need to know this week and in the coming month? Anything that we need to kind of be aware of, something that we've been recently going through, that we've been just alchemizing, and something that we are to expect as we move forward, you guys. So let me know how everybody's been. How's it been? Like, this is a crazy year, you guys. It's a dragon year. It's also eclipse season. It's the 8 dragon year, which is 8 is all about manifesting and really just like, having power and authority over self. I've been posting a lot of things lately on just different things that people have been going through, just certain situations, and the energetic field is just really, I don't want to say wonky, but it is out there and it's strong. And just, be very mindful nowadays of like what you're thinking, what's going on in your head, even the things that are coming into your field. Be mindful of why it is and what lessons or anything you need to pay attention to within that. One card from our math deck, which I love. And here we're going to start a reading, you guys. Where are we now? What are we currently going through? What is the situation? And I love this. Here we have is the number 5 is the Hierophant. It's all about traditions, conventions, expectations, and conformity. And of course, Virgo elements, there's some earthly energy here. Definitely something we need to kind of look into. I'm getting a lot of that, like, definitely earthy energy in this, as well as, some Mars energy, just really being controlled, being driven, some passion and will power there. I'm also getting some Capricorn energy, which is really all about, like, just being challenged with limitations, and also being like a little bit more on the wise side, a little bit more on the, traditional, conventional side. Definitely a lot of conformity here, you guys. Sometimes right now I think some of us are just like being put in a little box, and like Virgo season is all about really like, that workaholic type personality that's really like just detail oriented, really just honing in on some of that. So yeah, we're getting down in business, you guys, and maybe we need that right now, especially with the number 5. It is, the number for change. It's versatility. It's adaptable. I see some travel here, you guys. And you know what? This is kind of what we need sometimes to move forward, is to have that sense of just like, traditional, conventional type energy. And it can be a little straining to some of us, especially some of our more water element people and our fire element people, having to kind of like work under these conditions, but sometimes that's what we need to move forward, and just, you know, don't necessarily lose track or lose sight of the other elements there. Earth energy can be a little heavy sometimes, you guys, and especially if you're getting a double whammy with the Virgo. For some of you who might be feeling that heaviness, just, you know, ground. That's one of the things you can go out, you know, just connect with nature, because we're all connected, right? The energetic field is all connected. And sometimes when things start to feel a little heavy, or you start feeling just like, you know, even if it's the opposite, or you're just feeling ungrounded, you know, the best way to kind of, you know, get settled in that is just like connect with nature. Go out, breathe in some air, you know, hang out with the trees for a little bit. What has been happening recently, something we've been going through, something we're kind of alchemizing and going through, guys, and here we go. This is a beautiful number. So right now, you guys, and I have a lot, I just feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that we just literally just went through Lion Gate. Here is a cup, the 10 of Cups. And literally, you guys, this is kind of like a sense of completion, family and love and support and total support. And some of you guys have really been like tapping into that. You've been getting support systems through your familiar ties, mostly family ties. Your nearest and dearest have been really showing up for you in the ways that they need to. I mean, you know, I think in the past we've been kind of on shaky ground with that, but we're starting to really open up and just, you know, really sense that. We're really getting a sense of fulfillment and happiness and joy and support. And a lot of that has to do with just really like buckling down and, you know, trying to realize what's really important, and like doing away with the things that just don't serve. And, you know, and that can be, and I posted a few things on, you know, the energy that certain things will give off, some negative energy that we might be sensing or feeling from, you know, since, you know, the last card I pulled, I believe, was nostalgia, and it's all about going back into the past. And as we tap into the past, sometimes we get this sense of like, you know, we just kind of open up some new wounds, and those are just part of things we need to kind of heal through. But like, I'm just really sensing like this, especially with Virgo's like no nonsense, you guys. It's like moving forward, and it is ruled by Gemini. And normally I do my readings on Wednesday, which is ruled by, you know, whatchamacallit, Mercury, I mean. So, you know, I usually do my readings around that time where there's a lot of communication and a lot of like, you know, intellectual information running through with the planet Mercury. Sorry, I said Gemini, but Mercury rules over Virgo as well as Gemini. So we're getting like this sense of like communication, and that's kind of what that's when you start to really communicate and you get past the nitty gritty, and you're really true to yourself, and you're really true to like what's going on with not just you, but the people around you, and you can just be very honest, very upfront. I mean, that's what communication is all about anyway, right? You guys being able to communicate exactly your feelings and your thoughts, and having that other person, if they truly are in the same mood as you, to communicate, just kind of reciprocate that. And when you get that, that's when you start getting the stronger bonds of like, you know, relationships that you've always wanted, right? And it comes through that sense of vulnerability as well as like your ability to communicate. So definitely some, you know, and I see some familiar and family as well as friendship relationships. And there's totally just a sense of love and support and just like strength, right? Where you weren't necessarily getting that in the past. You weren't getting that support you needed from the people that should have been caring about you. You're starting to get a little more of that now. And it has a lot to do with some of the energy that's passed through. I mean, us alchemizing and going through some of the tough stuff, right, you guys? So, and what helped through that, and we got another 2, but this now is like the 2 of Wands, which is all about fire energy, guys, and movement and travel, and I love this. So it's just a choice to kind of move forward. I mean, this is definitely something more for traveling and like looking at the world, like, you know, in the palm of your hand, and just seeing, hey, where do I want to go here, right? Some of you guys have really been doing that. You've really been just like, no matter where you are, you guys, because, you know, adventures don't necessarily have to be outside of our field. It can be very much what's going on within your own little world, and the people around you, and the people and places and things around you. There's adventures everywhere. So, you know, don't limit yourself necessarily to like, you know, with the 3D seas, as a sense of like connecting with, you know, just the way you look at the world. There's definitely some, you know, some moving forward and just some looking at the world in this way of like really wanting to understand it and really trying to go to all these different places to be part of it, right? And that's really what, I mean, this is a supporting card, obviously, to what's going on here. Just that need, and Wands is all about fire and creativity, just that need to kind of like, you know, bring in that fiery element of adventure for you and moving forward into like, you know, just the oceans in front of you, you know? This guy's using his sense of like creativity and adventure to move forward and try to really see where he's going. And then also there's the number 2, which is all about duality. It's all about cooperation, balance, and diplomacy, and just really like bringing in the power of that sense of duality, right? As we move forward, right? Because, you know, we're getting to this point where we're really like, you know, nourished by everything around us, the things that we really need that can fulfill us. And we're getting to that place of having that sense of love and having that sense of connection. Love it, you guys. And so here we go is the Hierophant. I think this is really like, just because the Virgo's really like, hey, we got to get some work done. Definitely going to be in work mode during this time, and that's great because you know what, that's when you can actually get things accomplished, you guys, is when you're like focused on, you know, what needs to be done in a more like maybe traditional methodological way, right? Not everybody necessarily likes to operate that way, but it is necessary and during times like this. And I'm really getting some of this like earthy energy right now. You know, Virgo's really no nonsense, and it can be a little bit discerning about things, so just be careful though not to get stuck in that box, because you know, a lot of times when I get this card, I am getting that sense of like, you know, conventionalism and conformity, and that can be, like I said, especially for the water and fire signs, can be a little bit difficult. You know, it's more of an earthly thing, and not everyone necessarily, you know, is always 100% comfortable with those energies. So always be wary about how things and energies are affecting you, and see what serves you, and see what really was just meant to be a lesson anyway, you guys. I've been posting in the last couple of posts about like things that aren't meant for you and how to necessarily like let them go from your field, when obviously they were just meant to be a lesson for you and nothing more than that. But sometimes we get stuck in the lesson. We go, oh no, you know, what went wrong there? And it wasn't about anything going wrong. It was just a situation, place, or thing, just not, you know, just coming into your field, just kind of check in, and, you know, check in on your spiritual meter or whatever is going on with you guys at the time, right? I love this Mercury energy. I usually do my readings on a Wednesday. It's very mercurial. Mercury is like very, like, it loves to communicate. It loves, you know, when it's in the Gemini element, it's a lot more, you know, fluid and versatile. With Virgo, it's just a lot more reserved and purposeful. So we're getting this purposeful energy right now with Virgo, and it's really just trying to get the job done, you guys. I'm getting work, but not, let's make it a little fun too, right? September is the 9th month. 9 is all about, you know, and like literally a cycle ending. So a lot of cycles that we've gone through from the middle of winter on and moving into now, which is we're heading into fall. Certain things are ending and certain things will be renewed once again as we, you know, go through our cycles. So interesting to see what is, you know, what is ending for some of us, what's coming into fruition and completion for some of us, and what is that going to be transforming into, and what are we elevating into as we move forward. Love it, right? And what is, we have another 5 card. What may be coming into play, which is, whoa, okay, so I just went from like wands and the number 5 with the Hierophant, and I have another 5, but it doesn't look so friendly, does it? We have the 5 of Wands again. There is some rivalry, challenges, and obstacles for you guys. There are some people that are just, for some reason, thinking they need to compete with you for some things. And I literally had just these weird, just feelings about, like, you know, just tapping into that and really getting into that, and just like, okay, where is this energy coming from? And I did post that in my most recent post, which it's coming up again. There's just a sense of like rivalry. There's a sense of this need to be challenged, or just competition. Somebody feels like they need to compete with you. Why? And this is one of the things I tell you guys, you know, I have, especially like when I saw the I didn't even really watch the Olympics. I kind of I had this new awakening way of looking at competition, and just like even in sports arena. And I know you, some of you guys might not necessarily appreciate this. I love sports, you guys. I used to watch football, and and like soccer all the time. So I love sports and I love the energy of it, but I also don't like the necessarily toxic, like especially toxic masculinity about it, where someone feels like they have to like, conquer or like, defeat someone else in order to like fulfill a certain need that they have. I'm getting some of this, but remember, you guys, we're creating our own, and then here's the number 5 again. So you got this sense of change and versatility, and you're moving forward. There's some change going on, but it's almost like at this competitive level, you guys, and we kind of have to remember, the universe is really telling me this, like, hey, humble yourself when it comes to comparing yourself to other people. Humble yourself when it comes to like, because it will cause strife. When you are feeling like you have to be fighting, when you're fighting for something, or you're having to fight for things that you think are yours, when nothing really belongs to you anyway. The universe is, we belong to the universe, and we're all like kind of connected in that way, and everyone's on their own journey doing what they need to do. You need to like kind of like veer away from this, because this is something apparently coming into my field, because it is something that are coming, is kind of like, just resonating, or just a lesson that needs to be kind of talked about and learned about. And we need to maybe talk about some of the difficult things. Like, let's talk about jealousy and this need to one up everybody, or win, or be number one, when there is no one, there is no everyone. We're all just one anyway. So I mean, it'd be great if we looked at winning, or just like that sense of competition is like, yay, we all win when that one person wins. But unfortunately, that's never how competition is. And that's when you get the sense of strife, because someone feels like they're losing, someone feels like they're just, whatever the situation is, they're missing out, or when we should really be looking at it like, wow, that person's on their journey, I am on mine, and we're all kind of like doing what we need to do. And sometimes that journey doesn't even really cross over with each other. We're just doing what we need to do in our own little, lane. And then sometimes, because, that's what it's almost like when we start crossing paths and crossing lanes and doing things that are inauthentic to ourselves, crossing these things, that's when you get that sense of strife, right? That's when it starts to feel bad, because you're no longer in alignment with who you are. I mean, look at these sticks, like the fire is energy and creativity, right? When you're in alignment and everyone is kind of doing their own thing, like imagine if everyone's sticks were just straight, right? Then there'd be no conflict. It's when you're clashing, and think about like roads, just going, waiting. Have you ever been in a crossroad where you're like waiting for someone else to go, and everyone's kind of like in this big confusion, because a lot of people, for some strange reason, don't know how like a 4-way stop works. And so there's just this like, even some aggravation, because some people aren't seeing their path the same way, and people start honking horns. And I'm just saying this because that's what I experience sometimes when I'm on the road. I mean, and how interesting is that when you're looking at like, crossing paths with other people, energetic creativity and fire, rather than just like staying in our own lanes. We're just kind of like clashing at each other, because we're being inauthentic to ourselves, and we're really just not having our boundaries right with other people, where we should just really be telling them what we need and what we don't need, and what we can move forward with, and things like that. So I'm getting a lot of this interesting, and I think a lot of that has to do with just ending cycles, and really just like, hey, you guys, like I said, this year I really am no nonsense. I just don't have time to mess around with things that are not, in alignment with who I am and what I mean to do. I now like purposely, and a Virgo will help you guys do this, because Virgo is very discerning, and is very like to the point about getting things done, and doing it in a very like, doing it in a very, just a very purposeful way, rather than like wasting time. It gets to the point, and I like that. I like that energy. I do have some earthy signs in my my chart too. So I think Virgo is being one of them pretty strong. So yeah, and just remember, you guys, all of this is an illusion anyway. We're all here to learn a lesson. So even those things that come in to give us this sense of like, you know, just rivalry or challenges, all these things that come in that seem like it's, you know, just this power play. I mean, one of the things that somebody told me to take notice of when you're looking at this card is no one's really getting hurt in this. It's almost like they're just like playing with sticks, right? Like what little kids would do, playing with sticks and just kind of like, you know, learning some kind of, you know, acrobatic lesson here. Or, you know, so literally like no one's really getting hurt, but they are going through the motions of it. And just remember that a lot of times, especially in the 3D, we're just going through the motions, you guys. It's just, you know, this thing that, you know, somewhere, and I don't have the answers to everything, but I just know that, you know, we're all here to learn the lesson, and somewhere along the line of learning that lesson, we have to kind of like level up. But through that is this challenge that we always have to go through here and there with certain people, situations, and things. And a lot of times it can get messy until you decide not to play the game anymore. You could always just be that person to step away. Because literally, this number 5 is all about change. It's all about being versatile and moving forward and being adaptable. So what does that tell you about this situation here when that's the ruling number in this card? Something to think about, something to ponder. What does it mean to you, right? And finally, what is affecting this? Of course, it is the new moon, or as we're coming to the full moon would be September 17th. So we'll do another reading there. There should be a Wednesday reading somewhere in between. I'll always let you know. Or you could just always check in around those times. So now we have the moon, which is the 18. And it's also the 9 number. So it's 18-1, which is all about individuality. Which today is actually the one day, you guys, when you add 9 to in 2024, it equates to the number 1, which is all about individuality and attaining and beginnings and innovating and leadership and independence. So we got the number 18 in the moon. So it's all about that. And then 8 is all about really like the magical stuff, the manifesting authority, power, and, you know, just really like the material satisfaction, right? Getting some of that. So we're having this 8 year and we're coming into completion of it, right? We're like halfway there, you guys. And then we have this moon energy. I mean, obviously there's a new moon. And what do we do with the new moon, you guys? This is where we set our attentions for what it is we're trying to seek as we get into the full moon. That's when we let it all go, the things that didn't serve. It's almost like you're processing, you're, you know, throwing in the ingredients, and towards the end you start realizing, okay, what do I not need? What's not serving here? But, you know, the new moon is when you just put it all in, and, you know, just say, hey, this is what I want to accomplish. I like to do things in steps and increments, right, throughout the month. This is what I want to get done. This is what I want to accomplish. And towards the end of it, it's like when you do anything, like an art project, or you start, you know, just putting all the ingredients together, or you're putting all your tools and materials together. And towards the end, you really start to realize what you do and don't need, right? And I end up like discarding a lot, especially my art pieces. You'll be like, oh, I really don't need this, and I really don't need this. It's like really fine tuning and tweaking what you really want. And when you have this moon energy, you know, a lot of times the moon card gets a lot of negative connotation too, because it's all about like, you know, the unforeseen problems and things that can't, but it's also about tapping in to your intuition to solve some of those things that don't necessarily make sense, right? To trust into your intuition. So even though you're seeing like this dog carnal world, very emotional, you know, very like earthly kind of, you know, existence, here is the moon just kind of like, you know, looking at it from a different perspective and seeing it for what it really is, right? So this is like what's helping us through this. There might be some challenges coming up, you guys, but like I said, just, you know, obviously it's been something that we need. I've been posting a few, I think the last few posts really have connection to some of this. So if you guys really sense that sense of like, you know, just turmoil coming up, or just these things that don't rivalry, or just, you know, anything, jealousy coming up, or just people not really working together, and you see these challenges coming in, I want you guys all to kind of like maybe go back, look at some of the posts prior to this on just how to navigate through that energy, because it's important, you guys. Ooh, Virgo, you are so, we're so yeah, just like there with the energy that's going out now. You just really want to get this done. You just want to get these things taken care of in a nice, neat, clean way. Put it in a clean little box like that. Ooh, and what help us through this? Wow. And here we have our sleeping lion. 26, so duality. And 6 is all about nurturing, caring, and loving. The lion's put to sleep. 888. You got the lion's gate. It did its job. It's going through a deep freeze now. So as we move forward, you guys expect just to kind of really alchemize and just, I mean, when I'm seeing a deep freeze, I don't necessarily think it's a stop or an ending, but man, look at this Lionsgate. It had a pretty busy couple of months as we led up to it. Now it's just like, you know, think of hibernation, where you just like take in all that information, all that energy, and you just like sit with it, and you just kind of like, you know, let it saturate. Let me look more into what the actual deep freeze card means, but I'm getting some of that. Just kind of like a period of rest and just like really contemplating and really just like sitting still with it rather than running around, because this energy is insane, right? And it's still going through. We're still kind of like moving through some of this as we get into the other elements, but right now, this is oh my god, it reminds me of this song, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I'm thinking of Lion King. Wow. But literally, it's just imagine just kind of like, you know, Lionsgate closing. And we're coming into this, what does it mean now? All about duality and really nurturing some of the things we need to. It didn't necessarily go away, but it's going dormant right now, probably until the next Lionsgate. Interesting, right? Interesting how that comes up. That was unexpected. So I want you guys to really I want to thank you so much for, you know, sharing this energy with me and going through this. You know, this is definitely an interesting new moon reading, you guys. This time to really contemplate what you really want. Start writing down. Start, you know, thinking about some of the things that you want to manifest as we move forward. I mean, it's a constant, you know, nothing ever ends. It's a constant journey and challenge to constantly always have to like, you know, call forth what's meant for you and then kind of adjust it and tweak and try to see if you're really, you know, making that happen. I want you guys really like to just hone in and focus on that. I want to thank you so much for coming out and sharing this energy with me. Our next reading should be on just a normal Wednesday, and then we will have the full moon reading on the 17th. So until then, you guys all have an amazing day. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give me a text or send me, you know, a message. I literally do this just because this is the one thing I felt like I should be, you know, kind of giving back, is just this communication, as well as this, like, you know, this sharing of energy with you, and just like however I can help you navigate through all of this. So you guys have all an amazing day. See you again in our next reading. Love and light. Bye bye.